you guys get us started sharing with? This is the part where you guys talk. Hello? Anybody out there? Can I just
Ask
not
the
hear
question
you?
again.
Okay, there you are. Hey, Barbara.
Ask the question. Hey, ask the question again.
The question was, what kind of victories do we have that we can start out with this week? What kind of good positive energy we can get going?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Coaching call the other day, listing appointment. I had a gentleman that he was just angry. He was upset with the fact that his home didn't sell. He was upset with his last agent. We talked, I don't know, for about 10 minutes. Some of the people that are on the call right now might have remembered the conversation. But in the end, I just simply said, do you have a little bit of time for us to see how we could possibly get your home sold? I said, and I used it, is that fair enough? And he was thinking, and I let him think, he was taking time. I'd ask him a question, wait a little while, ask him another question, let him think, and he'd pause. He was being really silent, and he would think, and finally we got the appointment set. So it was a rough one. It drained me, but I got it done.
Well, that's fantastic. When you look at somebody who's already angry, if you recall, what is the actual definition of finding motivation? What's the actual definition of pain? You know what that is, Barbara?
Probably, but I can't.
It's the emotional connection to the problem.
Okay.
Now, what we're trying to do when we're talking to prospects and we're asking their motivation and we're digging in 2 or 3 levels down below, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to find out what their emotional connection to this problem is. The beautiful thing about people when they're already angry when you call them is they're actually already emotional. Half my job is already done. I'm trying to get people emotionally connected. The guy's already emotionally connected, right? So, in that moment, you really have a real opportunity, because if you can fall back enough and let the guy, expand on that, let the guy talk about it, let the guy get it out there, realizing you don't have anything to do with it. And in those moments where he was stopping and pausing, what he was really doing in his own mind was he was swinging that pendulum back the other way. He was saying to himself, well, you know what? That would be fair, because I probably shouldn't be pissed off at this person because they didn't do anything to me, right? They didn't do anything bad to me. Yes, I do still want to sell this. Yes, I do still want to. And I love the term you use, would that be fair? I use that a lot, because I find that most people just want to be treated fairly. They don't need a bunch of promises. They don't need a bunch of, blowing smoke up my backside. They just want to be treated fair. And if they're communicated with, and if they are done fairly, that house may sell or may not sell. At the end of it, they'll realize that it wasn't necessarily the skill set of the person who took the listing, and may or may not be that's the situation. So people want to be treated fairly. They just don't want to be taken advantage of. If he felt like he was taken advantage of by the last guy, then obviously that's why he's emotionally upset. So good job of working through that and giving him space and understanding that's the way for that to go. Cool. Thanks. Who else got a victory they can share with us today? I got people logging in, logging out, logging back in, logging back out. Dennis, you're always good for some positive interaction. What do you got going out there in the Pacific Northwest, man?
Well, the week started out really good after the holidays. We got 10 listings. We've got almost 40 appointments. So we had an awesome week the first week after the holidays, and this week is starting off just the same, so not too bad. It's just picking up, getting busy, and we're trying to capitalize on all the opportunities. And the other thing that we're trying to do is we're doing lots of role play in our office, and basically we're kind of moving away, not really moving away, but we're building on the proctor script that I was taught, and then adding in a lot of the transaction analysis stuff. So, I'm looking at books and studying transaction analysis, and it's helping me. I just got to kind of put it all together now.
And you're using that you said looking at that Craig Proctor script. What kind of prospecting are you doing?
Well, it's just basically just asking pretty basic questions. After the introduction, it's are you planning on moving in the next 3 to 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Timing and motivation.
Yeah.
Are you staying in the area? Are you moving out of the area?
These are buyer appointments, internet leads.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Well, guess what, Dennis? You're gonna get a chance to do a little role play with us in a little while.
Okay.
All right. Because you're doing some good things there, and obviously some things for people to learn. So let's get a sense of how you guys are handling some of that stuff, and maybe some people on the call here can pick up some good stuff from you. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll do that in a little while. Who else would like to chime in? I don't want to hold anybody back. All good stuff there. Sounds like the week was started out. Second week goes well. Just make sure we don't get that mindset of we're waiting for it to slow down. I know it's going to happen. Sometimes it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So let's make sure we don't get into a situation where we're waiting for things to happen, and therefore we make them happen because we continue to dwell on it too much. So my screen's freezing up on me here. Give me a second, guys.
Hey, can I elaborate on that a little bit, Mark?
Go right ahead. Rock it.
Okay. Well, it's been kind of slow. I mean, I've been kind of feeling the pinch on that the past few weeks, and I was steady at 5 appointments there for almost 3 weeks in a row, and I finally just said, you know what, this week's going to rock it. I started out Monday morning giving myself a really good talk to, and I'm sitting at 7 this week already, and so I really had to push myself and just say, it's not slow. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get more than I've been, over the past couple weeks. And it worked out. I had to get motivated and realize, I had to make things happen. And that's exactly what I worked towards this
Having
week.
a positive mindset, is real. You mentioned the top 2. I know what that means, but for the edification, everybody else on the call, what's that mean?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
You used the term top 2. I know what that means, but I don't know if everybody else on the call knows what that means.
I don't know. I didn't remember. I don't even remember saying top 2.
Not me. You said you.
No, I didn't say top 2. I said a good talk to. I had to talk to myself a little bit. Yes, a good talking to. Sorry.
No problem. Talking to. That's my problem. I can't hear. Well, what I was referring to was the top 2 because a thing from a book called The Rockefeller Habits. We talk about your top 1 and your top 2 things that you have to accomplish that day. And typically, you set a couple of priorities for what it is you want to focus on that day. And he calls it, the top 1 or top 2. So you may have a thing on a to-do list of 10 things, but there are 2 things I absolutely have to accomplish, I absolutely have to focus on, perhaps, and that is, scheduling appointments, listening better, having better reverses, engaging people, whatever those things might be. So it's just a thing out of a thing called the Rockefeller Habits, which is a book that our management team subscribes to here, and we have read it together and kind of implement those things into our business. I appreciate you hopping on there and piggyback on his statement because that's absolutely true. Your mindset has a lot to do with our ability. If we can't envision it, our ability to make it happen is pretty slim. I'm a big guy on envisioning, what's going to happen there. Does anybody else want to chime in? Have any other positive victories before we move on?
Good afternoon. This is Janet Gonzalez with the Tierney Jordan Network in Arlington, Texas. I did want to share. Hi.
What was your name again? I'm sorry. What was your name again?
Sure. It's Janet Gonzalez.
Janice?
And Janet with a T, like gotcha, Janet Jackson, but Jack.
Gotcha, Janet. Perfect. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's quite all right. I wanted to elaborate on what you mentioned about the pain and emotional connection to the problem. I love your definition about that. I did have a listing on Tuesday, and during my listing presentation, we were going to list the house, and she showed me a picture of her son, which was killed which I kind of identified her pain in her wanting to sell the home. Then she called me, so we got the home listed, got the sign, got the lockbox, and everything was great. You can see she was still healing. It was 2 years ago that her son got killed, got murdered actually. And so anyway, she called me yesterday basically in tears, and she says, I don't know if I can sell the house. My other son is still emotionally, you know, he hasn't gotten over the brother's passing and so forth. But I went ahead and reminded her of her pain, and reasoning that she wanted to sell was to just relocate to a different state. And she really, I mean, she was almost changing her mind, but because, I mean, I was really conscious of her motivation for it, I just had to remind her about it, and we proceeded with the listing. So I really appreciate that, and I can totally relate to that pain and emotional connection.
Well, I really appreciate your story, because honestly, Janet, that is the core. You know, when we talk about motivation in this business, somewhere along the line, I'm not sure how it happened and what happened, because it happened before I got here, was motivation became, okay, do you want to move and how soon? Right? It's a very selfish thing of motivation as far as the real estate agent is concerned. How soon do you want to buy, and how much house can you buy? That's what they consider motivation, right? Motivation is exactly that. What is the emotional connection to this problem? The pain, the 3 or 4 levels below. There's different levels of pain. There's what is a problem, right? I want to move. Why do I want to move? That's the second level. The third level is the personal emotional connection. If you can get there, your ability to get more appointments, close more business exponentially goes up. And you used it exactly the way it should be used, which is you're not manipulating this person. You're simply reminding them of what it was that you told them before. Now, if circumstances have changed, if they don't feel that way anymore, so be it. They can let you know. But my job is to keep this thing on track and help you meet your goals. You shared with me what your goal was. You shared with me your problem. I crafted a solution. You agreed that that was right. I didn't just force it down your throat. You agreed that's what you wanted to do. And so now I'm going to help coach you through that. That's my job as a salesperson, is to help coach them through that problem. If it's not a problem anymore, fine, I'll leave you alone. This is what you told me. And you do have to remind them from time to time. If you don't find that out, I guarantee you that deal would have fell apart. If you didn't have that information, you know as well as I do that it would have fell apart. So fantastic job of getting that. Keep that in your head, you and everybody else. That is the emotional connection, you know, to the problem. I'm going to flip something up on my screen here real quick. It's going to take me just a second to get it. I wasn't planning on using this, but I think it is relevant in this situation. You know, we use, some of you have seen this, some of you have not seen it yet, right? This is our iceberg technique, right? And we basically say there's 3 levels of motivation, or 3 levels of pain, just like I said before. What is the problem is here at the top. Why is it a problem? And then how are they connected to it? Look at those questions. How do you feel about that? Have you given up? Those are emotionally based questions that are specifically designed from transactional analysis to help the person identify with the problem and let me know. I'm just asking you the question. I'm not saying, hey, you ought to feel bad about this. I'm asking you, how do you feel about that situation? And quite frankly, what do you think it is you need to do to make that go away? I really think I just need to sell this property. Okay. Well, I think I can help you with that. Fair? So thank you, Janet, for chiming in on that. That's a great connection to make.
My pleasure.
Anybody else before I move on? Good stuff. Get us going here. I'm going to look at today what I'm going to call some lion-isms. You know, we call this portion of our program lion selling. It very closely matches some of the higher level sales training that we give our agents here in our real estate team here at Select Homes. And so we're going to intersprinkle today some lion-isms, or what I would call quotes to live your selling life by, and quite frankly, how to execute them. Okay? Because it's all about execution. We can say stuff all day long. We can post, memes with motivation. We can do all kinds of stuff. But unless we have the ability to execute and actually do the things that we say that we want to do, they really fall on deaf ears. We're going to intersprinkle this, these different lineisms and the stuff I'm going to talk about with some role plays by you guys. Okay? So let's go to the first one real quick. First lineism. Don't sabotage your sales with your expertise. Okay? Don't sabotage your sales by being an expert. And what I mean by that is, keep in mind, our job is to gather information. It's to find pain and suggest a cure. Interestingly enough, didn't we just talk about that when we were talking with Janet, right? We were talking about the pain, adding a cure, a solution, if you will, right? Our job is to gather information. It's not to give a whole bunch of information. When you go see your therapist, does the therapist just give you the solution? No, they help you discover the solution. Because if it comes to a process of self-discovery, it's going to be much more meaningful and you're going to be much more ready to carry it out. So this is not a time to fix a problem for somebody by telling them all the reasons why and how important you are and how great your company is and how many homes you sold, blah, 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 blah. Your job is to find the problem. It's to qualify. And once we do that, then we utilize some of that great stuff in our unique selling propositions, to close that and move forward. But our job is to find information. Don't make this selling situation between you and your mother. Anybody have any idea what I mean by that? Dennis, you said you've been doing some reading about transactional analysis. Do you have any idea where I'm going with that when I say don't make this sales interaction between you and your mother? Here's what I mean by that. If we look at, go ahead, Dennis.
I was just going to say I really don't quite understand that one yet. I think I do, but I don't.
No problem.
No
problem at all, man. I just thought I'd throw that out there. What I mean by that is this. You want to make yourself look good to your mom, right? Or your dad, as the case may be. You always want to look good. You want to look like you have the answers. You don't want to look foolish. When you ask a question, you want to give an answer to it, right? You want them to be proud of you. You want to be able to share them with all your expertise. I have a son. He's 18 years old now. He's just the same as he was when he was 8. He's always coming to the house spouting what he just learned today, talking about these obscure facts and figures. And, hey, Dad, did you know that the Grand Canyon held 127 million cubic inches of sand per foot, or whatever the heck it is, right? Always trying to wow me with his experience, with his knowledge, because he wants my approval, right? I don't want you to be seeking your approval through this sales interaction. You feeling good about yourself because you can share all of your expertise and show how smart you are and show how important you are and how much knowledge you have. Is that what's really going on here? You're trying to get your emotional needs met by prospects on the other end of the phone, that you feel like you have to show your experience and how smart you are instead of asking really good questions and letting them discover that they're in the right place? This is not a place for you to get your emotional needs met. Get those met someplace else. Between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., your job is to diagnose, ask questions, provide solutions, not a place for you to get your self-esteem propped up. It's a place to ask questions and do the job. I want you to think of, be careful that we don't use industry buzzwords. Be very, very, very careful with this on the phone, right? There's a million industry buzzwords in real estate, all kinds of them, from closing and escrow, and who the hell knows what escrow means, right? If you're not in business, or if you're not in real estate, if you've never bought a house before, they don't understand what earnest money means. They don't necessarily understand the pre-approval process. They don't understand FHA and VA and HUD. They don't understand all that. So you gotta, until you understand what they do know, you gotta come from a place that's a little bit further down on the scale, or else you're gonna hurt your rapport. A lot of people will not say, hey, I don't understand what you mean by that. They're just gonna go, yeah, and then they're gonna feel not okay, and then they're gonna get off the phone. all of a sudden, dinner's ready, or they got to take their kid to the basketball practice. They're not going to say, hey, you just made me feel stupid because I didn't know what you were talking about, so now I got to get off the phone. Don't use buzzwords. You can say, hey, I've talked to a lot of people on the phone just like this, and when I first talked to them, they're not really familiar with all the terms about the different types of loans that are out there. I'm just curious. Do you have any experience in that area? Allow them to preserve their dignity and say, no, I don't. I really don't know about any of that. And you say, hey, no problem. That's a great thing for our in-house lender and your agent, to be able to explain to you, how about this? How about we set you up with a time with them so they can hold your hand and walk you through this process and help you understand what's going on. All right. Remember the dummy line, or a thing called the dummy curve. Okay. And this is what it is. On the left-hand side of this graph, on the vertical line, you have your ability to make money, and on the bottom, you have time. When you start in this business, when you start as an ISA or an agent, a lot of times you're a dummy. You don't know that much about the business. You can't use buzzwords because you don't know what they are. You don't know all the different things that there is to know about the business. You don't know all this stuff that there is to know, right? So quite frankly, you're kind of a dummy. And what happens is people go out and they actually set some appointments. And then an interesting thing happens. People start getting some training over here, right? And they start learning more, and they get their scripts down, and they practice their scripts. And then they practice their objection handling. Then they practice their scripts some more. They get their objection handling down. They get some training, and they read a few books. Next thing you know, they are trained killers. They know they know about FHA, and they know about HUD, and they know what escrow means, and they know all this other stuff, right? And now they just can't wait to impress people with their knowledge. So when somebody gets on the phone, they call you and you say something like, you know what? I know exactly what you need. Or, you know what? I heard a situation just like that yesterday, and here's a solution for you. You know what? Don't go any further. I got it. And they step on people's lines, and they don't allow themselves to intimate themselves. They don't allow people to communicate what they're feeling and what they're hearing because they're too busy providing solutions and not busy enough finding out the depth of the problem. And so what happens is they end up over here. They end up an amateur. An amateur doesn't have anything to do with how long you've been in the business. And that you could be in the 10 years and still be an amateur. If you're still doing the same thing you learned the first 2 months, and you haven't gotten any better. What I want you to do is over time, spend less time talking about yourself, less time you using buzzwords, less time talking about the industry, more time doing what you did when you were a dummy, which was ask lots and lots and lots of questions and listen. The more questions you learn to ask, the more questions you ask, the more you listen, the better off you're going to be at putting together solutions that are going to match the needs. Just like Janet mentioned earlier, she was able to, through her process of questioning, she was able to learn the deep-seated emotional connection to selling this home. Right? She was able to do that by being a professional, a seasoned pro. That's what it comes down to. Most of the very, 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 very best salespeople I know, the best now, they don't talk a lot. Don't get that confused with people who are making money in spite of themselves. Okay? We got a role play here. We have an internet buyer lead. We'll let, since I called Dennis out earlier, if you don't mind, Dennis, I'd like you to hop back on. I'd like to just do a little role play with you. You said you guys were calling on buyer leads, and so this is the internet buyer lead I have on the screen. Very simple, similar to the information that you would have coming through the website. You have my name, you have my phone number, and you have my email address. You also know what properties I've looked at because they're on the back end of your website. I've looked at 3 properties. 2 of them were in the same neighborhood of a place called Wentworth Place. Both are in about the $200,000 range, and I was on the website for a total of 6 minutes one time. First time, right? So That's typical of the kind of information that you would know about me. Is that fair, Dennis?
That's fair.
Okay, so I'm not going to be overly pain in the ass because I want us to listen. What I really want the rest of the people on the call to do is simply listen to your tonality. I want them to listen to your intro and how you get into it. I want them to listen to the kind of questions you ask and how you reverse and gather more information. Because I'm going to ask them to provide us some feedback as well, not just me. Okay?
Okay.
Are you comfortable, Dennis?
I am. A
Okay.
little nervous, but that's okay.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Let me. I'm actually kind of fighting a cold. I got kind of a sore throat thanks to sharing an office with Mr. Bailey, and so I have to take a drink here. All right, Dennis, go ahead and ring me up and I'll answer.
Okay, ring ring.
Hello, this is Mark.
Mark, this is Dennis. I'm with Latham Realty. The reason why I'm calling is I noticed you'd registered on our website, and I just wanted to call and say thank you. I saw that you looked at a handful of homes, and I just wasn't sure if I could answer any of your questions or if I could really understand what your situation is.
Well, you were with who?
I'm with Latham Realty.
Okay, Lakin Realty. Okay, and I was on your website, you said?
Yes, you registered on our website.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. Last night, I had a friend of mine had sent me a home. He knew that my wife and I were thinking about looking for a place over in that Wentworth Place area near him, and I guess he'd seen one online and sent me it. So I clicked on it, and you guys made me put my information in there.
Okay. So I'm assuming that you are looking for a home, obviously. So let me ask you, what are you going to move in the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, I don't know that we have an actual time frame, but I guess if we found the right place, that we'd probably want to do that.
Okay, so why don't you tell me a little bit about what the right place looks like to you? I see that you've got 3 properties in here, so can you tell me a little bit about what you like about these properties?
And I apologize, Dennis, out of role play for a moment. If there's a strange pause, because I am taking notes here, okay? So if there is a little pause, I don't read anything into it.
No problem.
Okay, we're back in role play. I don't know. We're looking for something got at least 3 bedrooms. 4 would be optimum, and probably 2 stories. Something that has got a little bit of acreage, probably at least half acre, something like that.
Okay, all right, great. So, well, let me ask you this. Is there any must-haves like a 2-car garage, a shop? Or what else would you like about the home?
We'll definitely want to have at least 2-car garage. Perfect world would be 3, but two would suffice. I would go with either one.
Okay. And how about a fireplace? Are you looking for something with a fireplace?
Fireplace is always nice. Yeah, that'd be on my list.
Okay. And how about your kitchen?
Got to have one of those.
Big, small? Were you looking for updated appliances? What would be your ideal kitchen?
Well, that's a kind of a new area over there. So, if my wife was on the phone, she'd probably tell you that, yeah, she'd want newer appliances, upgraded countertops, stuff like that, et cetera. But, hey, Dennis, I know you called me kind of out of the blue, man. Dinner's going to be ready in a few minutes here. What else can I do for you?
Well, let me ask you, is there something that needs to happen before you buy your home?
Got to find the right one.
Okay. Do you need to sell a home?
No, we're actually leasing right now. I actually moved here about a year ago from Kansas and up to the area. So we're actually in a lease situation. The lease does end here in about a month, and I have a choice of going month to month. But I can renew the lease, or we can buy if we find the right thing, I guess.
Okay. So let me ask you a couple more questions then. Can you tell me more specifically what you're looking for in your perfect home?
I guess we know when you see it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think location is good. We like that area of Wentworth Place. We do have some friends in there. It's not far from where I work. It's about a 15-minute commute. We just kind of like that area or something around that area. That I think that's probably as important. School systems. Obviously, I got a couple of kids, but like I said, we have friends that live in that area and seem to like the schools over there. So I think it's location more than anything. But then it's got to be the right property at that location for the right price. I mean, I'm not going to
I understand. So I'll tell you what. What I suggest is maybe we can meet. I have some time tomorrow, either 9 in the morning or probably 5 in the afternoon. We can go over and take a look at those properties. Would that help you?
What time did you say?
I can do 9 or 5 in the afternoon, or if you have any other times that you need that's convenient for you, I can definitely work with that as well.
Well, I probably ought to check with my wife, first, honestly, before I set up that time, because she's going to want to be there too, man. I got no idea what her schedule looks like. Do you do anything on the weekend at all, man? Because I know she's a teacher. It's going to be hard to get together during the week.
Yeah, absolutely. How about this Saturday morning at 10 a.m.?
Saturday 10. I mean, that could work, but I really gotta get approved with her. I mean, she sponsors the junior high cheerleaders. I don't know if they got a tournament or cheerleading thing that day. I don't really know, man. Why don't we do this? Why don't you email me, some information and I can get back to you?
Okay. Well, rather than email you a whole bunch of properties that may or may not work for you, I would be best maybe if we would to meet and tentatively maybe schedule an appointment for this coming up Saturday morning at 10. I can go ahead and pencil you in, and then if we need to make a change, we could definitely do that. And it also sounds like you are very interested in these properties over where your friend is at, school district you like. They definitely fit what your criteria is. So I'll tell you what, how about we pencil you in for 10 o'clock Saturday morning, and we can go take a look at them. Does that sound like it'll help you?
I'm writing. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I tell you what. Go ahead and put it down for 10 o'clock. It probably works. Let me get your name and number just in case I need to call you back and reschedule that or cancel whatever. Just because I haven't talked to her. If it's good with her, we're good. If I need to call back, I'll call you back. What's your number?
It's 290-2897.
And your name again?
Dennis.
All right, Dennis. All right, we'll stop there.
Okay, I have. Go ahead.
For the purpose of our little role play, we'll stop there. That's cool.
Okay.
Before I give my feedback, I'm really interested to hear some feedback from the folks on this call. So don't be shy. Go ahead and step up. You got some positive, some negative. Obviously, if it's if you think you just sucked, be careful with your words. I don't think you sucked, by the way, so I wouldn't think that'd be a fair representation anyway. But somebody hop up, give us a little bit of feedback.
Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Miller.
Hey, this is Miller. I'm pretty new to the game, so that was very interesting for me to hear just from hearing somebody else do it too. And I guess the difference between me or something that I haven't done is when it gets to that time to set an appointment or talk about an appointment, if they back off initially, I normally let them go. I don't keep pushing at it just because I don't want to be a burden to them and annoy them out of the situation of wanting to work with me. But in that situation, I was curious to see what was going to happen with you on your end, whether that you were going to set the appointment or not. And I thought that was pretty good and something I definitely learned a little bit from.
I think you're you are new, and so the way I would address that with you, Miller, is with this is that backing off certainly makes sense in the right circumstance, right? But if you're listening to my tonality, right, I didn't have a negative tonality. I did kind of Heisman him a little bit and say, hey, I'm not sure, I don't know, but my tonality is still fine. I did say I had to go once, but I didn't say, hey, I had to go again. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to rush him off. So I got no problem with Dennis sticking in there a little bit and then trying to go a little bit further and going again. But that's where you got to be listening for their tonality and what else is going on. If you hear background noise, if you got other things, got little kids squeaking at them, you know what I mean? people don't always roll over the first time. So, it's okay to stick in there a little bit. But, yeah, you need to listen to what else is going on to recognize and realize how far you can go with that and when it makes sense to get out of there and live to sell another day, right? So I would expect you being new to probably take it that way. So I think from where you're at, you're fine. But I would want to make sure that you're looking at all those other things around you before you make that decision just to bounce out of there. Okay.
I appreciate it.
Any other feedback there from anybody for Dennis?
Yeah, I have an observation. This is Deborah. Sometimes when you're setting appointments, and I'm not that I'm an agent, I'm an ISA, so I don't actually see people, but I used to see people on appointments I made, and sometimes you can hear a no-show, on the phone. I probably could make it. I might could do that. If you want to have appointments that show up, I think there needs to be value put on your time instead of, oh, if you can't make it, we can always reschedule. Well, that's good. It works, but you want them to respect your time as valuable instead of just sitting around like looking as if you have nothing on your calendar and you're openly available at their whim. I would give maybe 2 options to meet. What day is better? If you can't make it, hey, please give me a call. I would really appreciate that so I can get somebody else in the office and then we can reschedule your visit. Because you want your time to sound valuable and you want to sound busy, whether you are or not. I just feel like you can hear a no-show on the phone. Yeah, and it's going to happen if you invite it to.
Those are all really valid points, Deborah, and you're absolutely right. I'm going to point out something I did like the way that Dennis handled it. Actually, he handled it by going back, as even when he heard me get a little wishy-washy, right? Because I was a little wishy-washy on purpose, and you were picking up on it. The way he handled that was to go back to, well, this is in a neighborhood, in an area that you liked, and you have friends there, et cetera, et cetera. So he went back and used my own words against me, and at that point I was like, okay, you're right. Okay, so that's how. I dug in a little bit better with, yeah, it probably makes sense because he did go back and remind me of the stuff that I said. So that's how he handled that. But I also get it from you because that's one thing I really try to work on with people is digging in and listening for those wishy-washy words. I might, it could happen, well, I'll see. If you're somebody who is getting a lot of no-shows, like you said, in some of our teams, we track that stuff, and we went over those numbers yesterday. We're, hovering between 73 to 84%, depending on the type of appointment right now. If there's somebody who's getting 40% appointments, 50%, less than that, it's probably because you're not listening for that wishy-washy stuff, and you're slamming people into appointments, and they're saying yes just to get you off the phone. Right? So good feedback there, Dennis. This is what I heard. First of all, your intro on point. Good job. Making me feel okay. Hey, I want to say thank you. Let me learn more about my situation. Good tonality, good pacing. I like it. Doesn't come across fake as, hey, this is Mark. I just called to tell you, hey, like you're a radio DJ, right? I like the fact that it's a little understated, but that's your personality. And it actually works very well because I don't want it to be over top, okay? I like the fact that you got in and started asking me questions. I think there's some areas where you could probably go a little bit deeper with some questions. You said, I love the reverse at the beginning. I told you I'm looking, I was on a website, blah, 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 and I got some friends that live over there. And you said, can you tell me a little bit more? What would the right place look like? Something to that effect. I was writing quickly. Classic reverse, right? Great reverse right there. Let me see if I can pull this thing up. No, that's not it. A great reverse, if you go right from the iceberg questions, that's the very first reverse, right? Tell me more. You don't always have to say, tell me more or give me an example. Your question of, well, can you tell me a little bit about what the right place would look like or something like that. That's a perfect example. That's the essence of using that question and reversing. So good job of reversing. And then what I did, I rewarded you by giving you more information. That's what happens. When somebody makes a statement, you reverse them, turn it into a question, you seek to get more, you get more information, right? Which is exactly right. And they told you, well, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom and, and a half acre, blah, 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 blah. You started asking me a couple of questions, which went well. And then you asked me about what had to happen between me now and me selling. And I said, well, I have a lease, and we could re-up, or we could go month to month, or we would do whatever. And then you kept going on right by that. You never really did find my pain, though, Dennis.
No.
And here's how I would have handled it. I like the fact at the end when I started to push back, I really liked the way you went and then recapped our earlier conversation, optimized it, and closed again, which is exactly what we teach people to do here, right? I really liked the way you did that. But here was the opportunity that you missed. When I said I could lease, now for me, as somebody who's setting the appointment, or as a salesperson in general, see, that's a big red flag for me. If I don't find it, the place I want, I'm going to sign a lease, I'm out for another year. Right? So that's a bomb in the road. And when there's a bomb in the middle of the road, what happens if you don't diffuse it? Someone's going to step on it, right? And it's about to be you. If not you, it'll be the agent down the road. So what I would have said, if I'm talking to somebody and he says, well, yeah, we're interested in looking at a house, but I got a lease and I could re-up it. Am I a positive buyer, a neutral buyer, or a negative buyer in that particular circumstance right there?
I would say you're more neutral, but
yeah, kind of neutral.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's when we were going through the role play and we got past that point. I was trying to figure out a really good way to segue back into that because I knew that I could find your pain in that spot.
Well, here's how you could have done it. All you would have to do would be say, hey, let's stop there for a moment. I talk to a lot of people who seen a property on the internet, but they also have a lease. I mean, you're probably going to go ahead and sign that lease, though, right? Because it's already in the month to month. I mean, that's probably what you're going to do, correct?
Gotcha.
I'm going to go, no. That's not what I want to do. I really don't want to stay here for another year. My wife's not going to be happy. We really need to find a place. Okay, now you found it. Right? Because the real problem here is his lease is up. And he's got to find another property or he's got to re-up it. And he's trying to decide what to do. That's the real problem. And so since he's neutral, if we look, and we've talked some about this a couple of different times, but I don't expect you would have gotten this by now. And this is why I'm using this as an example. Is the guy's neutral, so I need to get him moving. He either needs to move my way, right? And say, well, yeah, you're right. I need to find a place. Or he's going to say, well, really, we kind of were leaning towards, leasing. And so, so now I got to go a whole nother direction with the guy. I got to find out the truth. But if you would have went back and asked me and got behind my neutral position in a negative way and said, it sounds to me like, you have that option. I mean, how come you're not going to exercise that option? And I would have told you, well, we don't like this property here. We don't have enough room. There's not enough room for my boat. And boat. You didn't mention a boat before. Remember, prospects hold information back, right? Yep. So that was a perfect opportunity for you to deal with and ask questions. Now, people will get scared. They'll be like, well, I don't want to talk about his lease. He'll just sign his lease again. I don't want to bring that up. Why not? Because that's the thing that's going to kill you in the end. I rewarded you, Dennis, by giving you the appointment because you did a better job than most people when you went back and started to summarize all that stuff. You're probably better than most of the people that are out there doing this right now, and that's why you guys are being successful, getting a lot of appointments. What I'm trying to show you is you could get even better and dig in even more if you look for those little negative pieces, call those out, and have an open conversation with people about it.
Awesome. That's excellent. Okay. One thing, too, that I learned on this is I didn't realize it until after I got past it, but I asked you a couple of times about properties, and you kept referring back to the 3 in that neighborhood and that your friend, recommended, and you told me all the positives. So you basically already told me what your ideal property was. We just had to get over there and see it. and it took me a few minutes for that to click, and I should have been on that faster.
You know, if you would have, but you did. I mean, overall, there's always ways we can go back and look and say, hey, I could ask that, could ask this, right? So I thought you did a good job overall. I mean, really do. I mean, if I was going to grade it out, you know, I would just say, hey, I got you a B plus. B plus is above average, and you're making money, right? So there were that one area you could have dug in a little bit more, but that technique of going a little bit negative in relation to the position is something that's hard to do, and it's just something that comes over time, and you have to learn over time to be able to do that. But that would have really unleashed for you, because then you could have said, because after we talked about that, I really don't want to do that. You know, it's just it's not the right size, blah blah blah. All you really had to do at that point would have been able to say, so when does it make sense for us to go look at that property, man? Right? I would have talked myself right into it. Okay?
Yep.
But overall,
So
good job. You can just get a little bit better. But go ahead, Dennis.
I was just going to ask you, is there any type of books that you would suggest that maybe I could buy specifically?
You know, that actually comes out of, it's actually an extension of transactional analysis. You know, the only real source material you're going to find on that is probably going to come from here. As far as this negative reverse piece that I'm talking about right now, it's really into a okay, not okay situation. It's really deep into TA. I mean, you can glean it from it, but it's going to take a while to get there. It has to do with the person that is not okay, because he's, you know, you're telling him about this lease, and I go a little bit more not okay by addressing it and say that's probably what you're going to do, and then he swings one way or the other. For me, I don't care which way he swings, man. I only want to set good appointments, right? If he's really going to do that, and he's already made up his mind, and he's going to give me that wishy-washy appointment, I don't want it. If he's going to come back to me and say, well, yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, we probably need to do something, you know, then he was coming back at me, and now we're good to go. So I would say that you continue to, you know, plug in here, and we're going to talk more and more about this as time goes on.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's flip back out over here to our next Lionism. Boom. People buy in spite of the hard sell, not because of it. Oops. People buy in spite of the hard sell, not because of it. There's a reality here is that most salespeople spend about 5 minutes getting a sale and 10 minutes talking themselves out of it. You notice, some of you probably noticed, there wasn't a 10, a 15, or even a 30-second period where Dennis talked about himself during that call. He didn't talk about how important he was. He didn't talk about how many homes he sold. He didn't talk about where they were in relation to other companies in their area. He kept it right about me, right? A lot of salespeople get the information up front, and then they go on talking about how great they are. And then in that moment, when they start talking about how great they are and how wonderful they are and how, you know, what their accomplishments are, they start sounding more and more like salespeople, and people naturally start to fall back away from it. So a lot of people that are, what they don't realize is they're successful because they have something that people want. They're successful because they've been around a while and people know them. They're not necessarily successful just because of their skill. They could be successful. They could be a lot more successful, quite frankly, if they learn some things and if they stop doing something. Just like we're just talking about with Dennis. Dennis made a good call. He did some really good things on that call. I graded it out pretty high, but we could definitely, there's a couple of areas he could have got better at. And once he does that and it continues to work on that, he's going to even be more successful than he is now. A lot of people take mediocrity and think that's the top of the line. That's the pinnacle. There's a lot of mediocre people out in the world. There's a lot of mediocre salespeople, a lot of mediocre real estate agents and ISAs who could be doing a lot better, but because they make a decent living, they don't really feel the need to get better, right? People don't like to be sold. They do, however, like to buy, right? Everybody's heard that. People don't like to be sold. They like to buy. They like to be able to discover what it is that you have is what they need. In that process just a moment ago, if we would have went through that leasing discussion, or even Dennis did a good job that he did of taking me back to, well, you told me about this in this area, in this house, specifically in Wentworth, I'm discovering, you know what, maybe it does make sense to meet with this guy. And he just took me back to the process of what I already said. He didn't sell me anything. He simply summarized what I already told him. And I realized, you know what? Yeah, I probably ought to meet. And that's how it works. Here's an interesting quote. Sales is a place for only 3 people. And when you go on a sales call or you're on the phone with somebody, there's only be 3 people on that call. The prospect, your nurturing parent, and your analytical adult. Anybody have any clue of what I'm talking about when I say there should be 3 people, the prospect, your nurturing parent, and your analytical adult? Or pardon me, yeah, your natural parent and your analytical adult. Here's what I'm referring to, guys. Dennis mentioned it a couple times. I did a little while ago just as well. This comes from transactional analysis. Some of you have been on this call before. Some of you are newer, but we talk about transactional analysis by Dr. Eric Byrne. And in transactional analysis, Dr. Eric Byrne has told us that within all of us are multiple ego states. The parent ego state, the adult ego state, and the child ego state. And at any given time, when we're interacting with people, we're said to be coming from a certain ego state. We've established in this program in the past that, there's 2 types of parent ego states. There's the critical parent and there's the nurturing parent. And so you could come across to somebody as a nurturing parent or you can come across from a critical parent. This has everything to do with how these people are made up, what they heard when they were younger in their formative years between 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and now. Things that people heard and things that they felt when they were really young direct their behavior as an adult. Right? Those fears that I had when I was little, they direct me as an adult. Things that happen to me direct me as an adult. And so you can turn people on or turn them off depending on how you come across to them at a psychological level. So when I'm on a sales call, the first thing I want to do is make sure I leave my critical parent at home. When I say a sales call, I can be on the phone, following up on an internet lead or calling a FSBO. I'll leave my critical parent at home. People aren't stupid. They're not dumb. They're not ignorant. They're not ridiculous. They didn't choose the wrong person. I love that one. So when are you going to choose the right agent? Why don't you just say, I'm an idiot, and poke me in the eye if you were here? Leave the critical parent at home, folks. What we need to listen more. We need to seek to understand. We need to talk less. We need to learn how to show empathy. We need to allow people to preserve their dignity. We need to lead, right? A critical parent controls. A nurturing parent leads. A critical parent tells people what to do. A nurturing parent helps people discover. A critical parent talks a lot. A nurturing parent listens a lot. So when we're in a call with a prospect, we need to be coming from a place of a nurturing parent, and we need to leave the child at home, which is the emotional part. There's no place to get emotional on a call. You shouldn't get mad at somebody. You're not going to get your feelings hurt. This is a place to get your self-esteem propped up. You're here to analyze a situation, process information in a non-emotional way. That doesn't mean that you can't be nice. It doesn't mean you can't laugh. It just doesn't mean you're not going to get your internal feelings hurt if people don't do what you ask them to do. So on a sales call, you have your prospect. You're coming from a place of your nurturing parent, and you're being analytical and processing information as it comes at you. Right? That's where you need to be. You need to leave you need to leave the emotional state, the child ego state at home, and leave the critical parent at home to keep track of them, to make sure they don't get hurt. So 3 people on a sales call: prospect, the nurturing parent, and the adult. That's where we're coming from. Got another role play here. This one is a for sale by owner role play. Who would like to do a role play here with for sale by owner? I'm happy to call someone out. Come on now, this is where we learn, this is where we get better. Somebody's got to be vulnerable, be willing to make a mistake. Oh, I have to call somebody out.
Bring it on. It's Janet Gonzalez of
There you
the
go,
Janet
Janet.
Jordan Network.
Thank you for hopping up, Janet. I appreciate it. Do you prospect for FSBOs in your area?
We do.
Excuse me?
Not really, though. We have in the past, but it's not a big market for us. We have more internet sale leads, listing leads that come in, though.
Okay, well, let me look at this. So when you're making calls and your prospecting stuff, you're doing more internet lead stuff then?
Correct.
Okay, well, guess what? I got another one of those here too. Let me find it. Somewhere.
Good.
Well, I thought I did. I was writing another one. I guess I didn't. Unless I missed it. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. This one's expired, but let's turn this into this. Let's turn it into an internet lead. Okay. So once again, you know my name, Mark Benefield. You have my phone number, my email address. I was on your website and I looked for a 4-bedroom home, 3-bath, 2-car garage, and I'm looking in the price range around $300,000. Okay. So don't worry about the other part about on this role play where it says expired. We're going to make this an internet lead instead. Okay.
Okay, so let me just clarify. Are you a buyer or a seller?
In this case, I am a buyer. Do you want me to be a seller?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's do this then. So this is a listing lead. How did you get my information?
I mean, we can do FSBO, I'm up for that, or we can just, internet lead listing that you inquired for a property valuation.
Okay, so you got internet lead because I clicked on Facebook ad for property valuation.
Correct.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, perfect.
All right, ring ring.
Hi, this is Mark.
Hi, Mark. This is Janet Gonzalez with the Tyranny Jordan Network at Keller Williams. How are you today?
I'm great.
Great. I was calling because you had registered on our website, Texas Online Home Search, and you were requesting a property evaluation, and I wanted to see if you had any questions for me.
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to know what my home was worth.
Perfect. Okay. Were you able to get some information from our website with the property valuation? I'm showing that it ranged anywhere from 324 to 350. Was that kind of some information you were seeking?
I didn't actually see that. Was that emailed to me or something, or?
Yeah, when you actually clicked on the link, it would have showed you kind of like an assessed value. Let me ask you this, Mark. Are you looking to refinance your home, or are you looking to sell your home?
Well, I don't know. We were thinking about, I don't know. I guess the conversation was really around, my neighbor had recently sold their house. We live in a development, so their house is pretty identical to mine. And I kind of just wanted to know, kind of what he got for his.
Oh, okay. So you were just kind of just
I figured
wondering
since my house is the same as his, that mine would probably be worth the same amount.
Okay. So if it were the same amount, would you be considering selling your home?
I'm taking notes as well, Janet, so I apologize. So my response would be a little bit slow because I'm taking notes, okay?
That's okay.
Could you ask me that question again, please?
Sure. So if the property is the value of your neighbors, is it something that you will be considering to sell your home then?
Well, we definitely consider it. I've been here. I have lived here for 10 years, and so if in fact it's that value, then I'm probably standing to make a nice little piece here, which would make sense to move up. My wife and I have talked about moving up in the past.
Wonderful. Well, we are in the seller's market, Mark, and the inventory is a little low, so we can definitely get you top dollars for your home. We would love to schedule an appointment to go and meet and give you a property analysis, and we can definitely talk about how we will help sell your home. Let me ask you this, Mark. What's your schedule like during the week?
Well, pretty tight. I travel quite a bit. Actually, you caught me. I'm actually in South Dakota right now. My cell phone that you rang, that's where I'm at. So I'm actually on business. I'm in the oil business, and I'm in South Dakota. I'm not around that much. I'm in and out, every week. Sometimes 2 weeks before I get home.
Okay. So do weekends work better for you, Mark?
If it's a weekend that I'm there, but I don't. You're going a little quick there. I don't know that I want to get together with anybody. I just trying to find out how much my house is worth.
Absolutely, and that's what there's no obligation when we meet. We just want to go out and assess your property, again, talk about our market, what we do to market your home. If it's something that you're considering, now is the time to sell. Again, it's not a sales pitch. We don't know when the market's going to shift. It had a down. It fell in 2008, so it's like the stock market. So we really just encourage, at least we want to make sure we're a resource center for you, provide you the information that you need to make the right decision. So
you kind of already gave me the information I saw. The 324 to 350 is really all I really looking for. I got that. I appreciate you guys' time, but I really kind of need to go right now. Thank you very much for giving me a call. If I need you guys, I'll give you a call back.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mark, what we can do is we'll continue to send you, we're going to set up a market activity report for you so you can keep updated of what's happening in your area. And I'm going to follow up with you if it's okay, like in a few weeks, just to make sure you're receiving those emails okay. That way you know if your neighbors put their home on the market or if it went under contract, and then we can follow up and we can schedule an appointment to meet with your wife. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah, you can send me some information about that. That'd be cool.
All right. Well, you have a great day. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Have a safe trip back, and we will be in touch, Mark.
Great. All right. We'll stop there. I went a little bit harder on you, Janet. I hope you don't mind. Just a little bit. I want to give people different perspectives, so nothing personal there. I dropped off a little bit towards the end, but I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Okay. So before I go give a bunch of feedback, let's hear what the group's got to say here. Somebody give some feedback for Janet, positive, negative, however, just be respectful of what it is you have to say. I don't think it was bad overall, so I don't think your perspective probably should look like that. But there are some things I think she probably could have done differently. So, what's the feedback? Go ahead.
Mark, this is Dennis. I thought that she did an outstanding job with her tonality of her voice. I found it very soothing and someone I'd want to talk to. So nice job.
I felt the same way. I thought she came across very open. There was you had that proverbial smile in her voice. There was a positive energy there, and I rewarded her by not just dropping out right away by saying, "Well, I just want to get the home valuation. Thanks, I appreciate it." I went on actually because of the fact that she was very pleasant to talk to. I thought so as well. So good observation.
Yeah, I'm going to concur and agree with Dennis on that. I think the only thing that had me in the beginning was how are you today? That, I would have got lost at how are you today? I'm okay. I would have thought that it would have come across more of okay, I'm fixing to get a sales call here. Typically when I get that from vendors or from Google or Zillow or Yelp or whoever it is, I get that. So I tend to automatically step back to guarded mode and halfway listen to what my sales pitch is going to be. Tonality, key, spot on. She asked a lot of questions, which I thought helped her control the situation and the conversation much more in a respectful manner. I saw absolutely nothing wrong with that whole conversation except just the question in the beginning of how are you today. I don't think there's really any right or wrong to that. I just tend to react a little different when I get that how are you today.
There's a couple of things here, and you'll see this on another slide. We recommend not saying that. One, because a lot of sales calls do, and we're trying to do the opposite of what other people are doing, so we have a tendency to get right into it. I also respect the fact that I haven't worked with Janet, that much, and also she's from Texas, and them Texas people are damn nice people, and they're always asking stuff like that because they're polite as hell down there, So that's reality. So it's harder to walk away from.
Mark?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really quick, this is Barb. Hey, really quick question. I had to check out just for a second, but did she ever ask you why you were wanting the value of your home?
Yeah, she did. She did. I basically said that when it came down to it, I was just being nosy. I didn't say that, but hey, my friend sold his house. My neighbor did. I was really just kind of finding out what my house was worth by finding out what my value was. So I figured his house is the same as mine. So I did
Okay.
say that. Yeah, you missed that little piece, but let me. So we have a tendency when we go to our intro to go exactly that. Hey, this is Mark Benefield from WichitaKSRealty.com. We noticed you'd been on the website. You requested a home valuation. I wanted to call and see, et cetera, et cetera. We kind of stay away from that pause because I don't know if you know it or hear it, Janet, or maybe the other people. This happens a lot. You ask me how I'm doing. I say I'm great. And then I don't reciprocate and say, well, how are you? And there's no natural point. And so it kind of dies. It's kind of like, okay, let me get back into my script, right? So that happens a lot. So I would recommend that you try to work on a transition that doesn't necessarily include that. But I'm not gonna beat you up for it because you did have good tonality and it was pretty natural. Here's where I thought you might have been able to do something a little bit better. I told you that I had mentioned during the call. I said that. Well, my wife and I have been, thinking about it, and I guess if we got the right enough money, that we'd move. We might move up, and you kind of let that, hang there a little bit. And you could ask me a couple of things. You could ask me, one was, well, how long have you guys been thinking about this? And then the next question could be, well, not only, we all have a tendency to ask people what they're looking for in a house. What we don't ask them about is, well, why would you be looking? So how long have you guys been looking for? About 6 months. Oh, so you guys have been thinking about this for 6 months. May I ask you, what is it about your present situation that makes you feel like now is the time to do something different? And I would have told you, well, the neighborhood that we're in now, is kind of starting to run down a little bit, and we had some good friends here that moved out, and the kids are out of school now, and we're really looking for a nicer property that we're not going to get torn up by a bunch of high school kids, et cetera, et cetera. I would have rewarded you with that information. And so what happened was when you went and tried to close me, the only thing you had left to talk about was yourself. You started talking about 2008, and you started talking about what you do and why you do it, et cetera. It started to become more about you, Janet, than it was about me, the prospect, at that point. So don't be afraid to dig in a little bit more on the things that that drop out there for you. And I always have a concern, because this is something that I know. People don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just because they got an extra couple $100,000. There's a reason why somebody would sell a $350,000 house and buy one that's more expensive. And it might be, I want a bigger kitchen. Okay, that's great. What's wrong with the kitchen you got now? That's too small. We can't have the family in there. We like to have big family gatherings, right? How long? So we've been looking. Oh, really? How long have you been looking? Tell me more about that. Give me some more information. Because it's going to tell a lot. If it was the first day, or I may have dropped on you. I'm not sure what's going on. Somebody put me on hold. I would have dropped on you, that, well, we've really been thinking about it for 6 months. You didn't get that from me because you didn't ask, right? So we always have to remember to try to, we may not ask every little single thing that comes out there, but I'm looking for some of those things that are important for me to know. So I like the way you went through that. As far as you were asking, questions, you had good tonality. I think you did a good job of putting this thing together. And when I pushed back a little bit, you didn't just give up. But the reason why I walked off from that and I ultimately didn't set the appointment, I started feeling a little bit not okay because you never really got to my heart of my issue or my pain. Wanting to move isn't enough. There's a reason why. And quite frankly, if I go for it and look for it and try to find it and there isn't one, the chances of me getting an appointment are probably pretty slim. Right? I'll shut up for a moment, give you a chance to kind of feed back to that, Janet. Oh, I got you muted. Sorry. Unmuted.
Okay, I was just saying, I think I appreciate the input. It's great input from everyone. Thank you very much. I think you really hit I love that question. What is it about your current situation that's different, or your present situation that's different? That was an excellent question to ask. I think I was kind of just going for the close because I knew you sounded like you were kind of rushing me off, and I really just wanted to see, you know, if I can set the appointment and try to get to the nitty gritty, like, okay, are we going to meet or not? So I was a little aggressive just because I felt like you were rushing me off a little bit, and I want to make sure if this is, you know, for time's sake, if this is going to, you know, if it's going to be productive, a productive phone call, or do we need to cut short? But agree, there were some questions I could have asked, and thank you.
And I appreciate that. I mean, all we're really looking for, what are those little areas I might be able to improve a little bit? And I think if you slow down just a little bit and you look for maybe a couple of those sore thumbs that stick out, right? And what it comes down to is I want to find somebody who's got a little scab, right? And I want to pick at it. So the guy's looking for another house. Well, why are you looking for another house? And he may say, well, really not. You know, really would just, I mean, honestly, I was just being nosy. I really don't want to, I mean, they'll flat come out and tell you, right? And then, you know, one of the things that we obviously do is we do a lot with modification of home searches. And we realize that once we get people talking, then they sometimes give up more information, right? So, you know, I would ask them, you know, would you be interested in, before I even would have tried to close them, I would have said, well, would you be interested in getting, you know, some properties in the price range you may be looking for? And oh, by the way, you know, if you were to move up, as you said, what kind of price range would you be looking in? You know, or do you happen to know an area you guys might be? And so as I kind of get them engaged more about them, right, then they're going to let their guard down, start giving me more, and then I can close them based on what they give me. So I like you wanting to lead that. You just went a little bit too quickly at the beginning, but I don't want to keep someone on the phone 15 minutes either if they're not gonna do anything, right? But going to the heart of the matter and looking for that bomb or that sore thumb and dealing with it is going to usually get you there pretty quick. Okay, cool. Thanks for playing along there. Let's see here. We'll do one more role play here before we're done too. So, hey Miller, by the way, you're getting called out, man. You're going to be put on the spot.
Yeah, I figured that was coming.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're boss on the line. He types in stuff. We'll get you though. I'm not there yet. You know, here's another lionism. You know, don't be a sheep, right? You know, we don't do, and we don't want you to do what everybody else is doing. I mean, there's a saying that's out there that is, if your competition is doing it, you need to stop doing it. If all of our competition says stuff like, well, you know, at the beginning of the call, and they say, so how are you? I'm going to stop saying how are you. If none of them ever say how are you, I'm going to start saying it, right? I'm going to do different than what other people do. We use a mishmash of kind of some different scripting and stuff put together. We have a little bit of this guy, a little bit of that guy, a little bit of this. We put something different than what other people are doing, and we're doing that on purpose. We're utilizing some transactional analysis by telling people, hey, we really appreciate you coming to the site. Just want to personally say thank you. Nobody else is doing that, right? So one of the things I want you to do is don't do what everybody else is doing. Do something different. Stop doing what the competition is doing. Come up with something unique. What is your company's unique selling propositions? You need to know what they are. You don't need to spout them off like we said earlier, but you need to know what is unique about you. Because eventually somebody's going to say, hey, you know, you're going to ask somebody. They're going to say, well, it probably makes sense for us to get together based on what you're telling me. What would be a good time for you? You know, I'm available Wednesday at 2, and I also have some time on Thursday afternoon. You know, what might work better for you? And they'll say, well, that's all good and all, but I don't know that much about you. Well, why should I meet with you? And if you're not ready with some unique selling propositions, what are you going to do? So you need to make sure you have those available to you. If you haven't established those, or if you got with your Rainmaker, if you don't know what they are for your company, you need to go have that question, that conversation. Okay, and you need to know how to use them at the right time. Miller, what kind of prospecting are you doing right now?
I'm down for whatever. I normally just work with buyers, but I've called on FSBOs once, so either one of those.
Well, I'll tell you.
I apologize if I sound sick. I've been a little under the weather, but just bear with me.
No problem, buddy. No problem. We're all feeling that way. I'll tell you what, we'll do a FSBO role play. And you know what? It's okay that you've only called on them once. It's okay that you might struggle here because that's where everybody's at when they start, man. Right?
Yeah.
It's okay. So there's don't worry about it. Did a good job, not did a good job. Don't be nervous about it. Here's what you know about me, okay? You know my name, my phone number. I have my property listed for $185,000. And you saw it on Zillow or wherever it is you saw it, right? So you saw some pictures of it. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, car garage. It's on a half acre. I live on a dirt road, and I'm on rural water. And it's about 5 miles outside of town, right? So that's about what you would know calling on it for sale by owner. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, well let's role play it from there.
All right. Ring ring.
This is Mark.
Hi, Mark. This is Miller Himes with the Holt Real Estate Group. I was calling about your property over there off of such and such address. Is that home still available?
Well, we haven't sold it, if that's what you mean.
Absolutely. And I see that you're selling it on your own.
Well, trying to.
Absolutely. I have a question, Mark. Why are you trying to sell that property on your own? I'm just curious.
Because I want to sell it. I mean, I've dealt with real estate agents before, and quite frankly, I haven't met one that I like yet. And it ain't that hard. Puts a couple signs in the yard, people come by and want to buy it. I've bought and sold stuff my whole life, so ain't no reason why I can't do it.
So I see that you've had some bad experiences with agents.
Yeah, you could say that.
Absolutely. Well, there is a common misconception with that sometimes, that a lot of times when people try to sell their house on their own, they actually end up getting less than what they would have if they would have worked with an agent. And I just wanted to put that out there by saying that because we have a very aggressive market approach and we have some of the best agents in the business, and I would love for you to be able to meet with one of them so they could help you out and could talk to you a little bit about that.
No, man, like I said, I'm good, man. I'm pretty sure I can do this on my own. I doubt very seriously. I mean, you may have some research there, but I doubt very seriously that an agent can get more for it than me. I've been selling my whole life.
Okay. Well, have you been having offers on the house?
I had one offer so far, but it was really, really low, so I didn't take it.
Okay. How have you been going about advertising your home?
Well, we got, I got to be honest with you. I'm not really sure why I'm asking all the questions right now. I mean, it's kind of obvious you're a realtor. I already told you I really didn't have any interest in working with realtors. So,
honestly, Mark,
I kind of got to go.
Honestly, Mark, you got to go. Honestly, Mark, I work in the client care department, so I'm just here to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. I was just calling in hopes that we were able to help you earn your business, and two, help you sell your home. And if you're not in the market, I just wanted to give you the common courtesy of the phone call and see what your current situation was.
Okay, well, I told you my situation. I appreciate the phone call. Good luck to you guys, and thank you very much. I'm good.
Hey, sir, one more question. Would you mind if I? All right.
All right, man. I beat you up a little bit, Miller, but I know you can take it, man. Let me get some feedback from the group before I jump in. Who can give Miller some feedback here? Deborah wrote, why is he selling? Good question. That's a question you kind of missed there, Miller. Why are you selling your house to begin with? Good question. Who else? Somebody else got some feedback here? I tell you what, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and hop in. A couple of things, Miller. First of all, kudos for you for stepping up and going through this with me, man. I know you're brand new. You only been with Miller a few weeks, and we did call you out. But at the same time, you could have mysteriously had your phone drop out or something, right? Hey.
Yeah.
And you struggled through that. I gave you a hard time, but the reason why I gave you a hard time, Miller, is because you missed something key at the beginning. Okay? You said, why are you trying to sell your house on your own? You didn't ask me why I was selling. You said, why are you trying to sell your house on your own? You started coming at me, right? You started coming at me a little bit, okay? And I'm thinking, whoa, as opposed to making me feel okay. I'd rather have you say, well, you know what, Mark, I talk to a lot of people every day, and I talk to a lot of people who, they have reasons, why they like to sell on their own. I'm just curious, what are your reasons? And I told you, right? I said, hey, I don't like real estate agents. I don't think they do a very good job. And you let me preserve my dignity. You said, hey, you know what? It sounds like you had a bad experience. Here's where you missed. All you had to do right there was say, tell me more about that. And I would have unloaded on you. And now when you and I are bonding, right? They're like, yeah, man, I dealt with this guy before, and he tried to sell my house, and he didn't sell it, and, blah, 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 and they never called me back, and the guy was going to send me some information, didn't send me. And now you and I are bonding, right? Because you're listening, which is exactly what my last guy didn't do. So there was that critical juncture right at the beginning where, I said I didn't like him, and you rolled right into, oh, I got to start to justify, right? Well, I can tell you, people who sell their house, they sell it for more money. Now you call me an idiot, right?
Yeah.
All you had to do was just step back and let him come at you a little bit. Well, tell me some more. And I would have told you, and then you would have said, well, can I share with you, would you mind if I shared with you a few statistics that we see when we work with people that are selling their house on their own? Is that some information that you would like? And I'd be like, well, yeah, okay. Now you can tell me that because I'm ready to receive it. When you told me before, you weren't doing it on purpose, but I'm feeling like you're coming at me, right? What am I doing? I'm stupid. I'm trying to sell it on my own, right? As opposed to, let me find out this guy's pain. I'm going to tell you all about why I hate agents. And then you're going to ask me, well, what? By the way, I'm just curious, why are you selling your home to begin with? What's the end game? Where are you trying to go next? And then I would have told you about all that. Now I got more stuff. Now maybe I find the pain. Well, maybe I have to sell it, right? Because, my wife has cancer, right? We don't know, but we never asked the question. We just felt the need to start selling. Okay?
That's absolutely.
Right. So my feedback to you is you're new as well, right? So once again, good for hopping in there. You're asking some initial questions, and you're going to do, remember that little graph I had earlier, with the little curve on it, where we're on one side, we're asking a bunch of questions, and then we go down the amateur side. You kind of slid down to the amateur pretty quick, man. You started going where, oh my gosh, I gotta tell them all the reasons why I'm calling them. No, man, we said at the beginning, I want to learn a little about your situation, right? We didn't say I'm going to ask you 5 seconds about your situation, and then I'm going to tell you a bunch of stuff. Why don't we really diagnose it like we had said why we were calling? And I think if you do that and get deeper with them, they're going to self-disclose. Once they self-disclose, that's a key component of building trust. Once they start to trust you, now they can receive your information, and you guys can have an analytical, conversation. But the guy's, and he's already emotionally charged, right? Just like Barbara said at the beginning, she had a guy who was really pissed off. The guy's emotionally charged. All I got to do is step back and let him spout off. He's stepping right into my little web. Okay? What do you think about that, man?
I mean, it all sounded good. I definitely see where I messed up in that call, and being able to step back from it, it's a lot easier to see what you missed because, like, in the middle of it, I'm not that knowledgeable about it all, so it's like I'm kind of searching for something to say whenever you say something instead of just listening and asking questions.
Right. And one of the best things you can do is in your Dropbox, you've got that iceberg sheet, right? The thing that looks like an iceberg, got all those questions on it. Print that thing up, put it by your phone. Put something else by your phone on the wall that says ask more questions, because this is what happens. This happens to everybody, not just Miller, but everybody. When we get pressure put on us, and that's really the only reason why we do role plays. We do role plays to create pressure, to see what you're going to do. And most people, when they're put under pressure, will not fall back and ask questions. They'll start to talk, because that's what we have been conditioned to think that salespeople do. So that's what we know. When we're put under pressure, we do what we know, not what we're trying to learn or what we're working on. We do what we know. So you did what you know. You're going to go in and try to justify and try to sell and try to talk me into it, as opposed to what you're learning, which is I need to step back a little bit, ask more and learn more. Put those two things up by your phone. Ask questions to put that iceberg up. Because you get that iceberg up, the first question is, can you tell me more about that? Can you give me an example? Right? That's always my reverse. Oh, tell me some more. Right? Can you help me understand that? Dennis did a great one earlier when we were doing the role play, and he said his reverse right at the very beginning was, can you tell me more about what that right place for you would look like? Right. So you're exactly where I would expect you to be, Miller, after just been around for a couple of weeks. Keep at it, keep working on it, and you're going to continue to get better and better. All right. We're going to finish up here, guys. I don't know about you guys, but I think we've had a good session today. I really like digging in with people. Before I go, though, let me just hit you guys with a couple lessons learned, man. What somebody step up here. What is something that maybe somebody learned on the call today? Type it in or open up your microphone. Let me hear you.
Hey, Mark, it's Prentice.
Go ahead, Prentice.
We got on a little late because of a meeting we had this morning, but overall, again, a really eye-opening experience for not only me, but for Miller as well. I know this is a much more advanced call session for him, but he really understands the dynamic of the foundations aspect of it, and I really wanted to get certain parts of this because these are things that I've been preaching to him from time to time, and in a little bit of a different manner, but the objective is still the same, and he's starting to slowly grasp more of that. But even for me, just understanding a little bit more principle, hearing Dennis, digging a little bit deeper into our next call session that we're going to start tomorrow when we start smiling and dialing. Here over the last probably week that we've made some progress. We feel like we've made progress because we've been able to articulate our message, and we've been able to connect with the leads. The problem is we haven't been able to set the appointments that we want to set. And a lot of that is we haven't dug deeper. We haven't gotten a little bit more personal. We haven't asked the right questions and tried to close the deals at the time that they were ready to close. So, this has been very instrumental in him seeing how he has to overcome that hurdle of complexity and get to the next one, and me too. So kudos to you. Thank you again.
I appreciate that feedback, man. I got a couple other ones here that are also wrote. I think Emily from our center, from our call center, wrote she learned that she needed to dig deeper and ask more probing questions. Camilo wrote, Camilo's out of our operations down in Nicaragua, that they need to be quiet and listen. And Camilo's actually pretty good on the phone, but definitely that's a takeaway always is to listen, to engage, to get people to talk. There's a time and a place to sell, and there's a time and a place to listen. And the more you know about your prospect, the less you have to sell. The more you know, the less you have to sell. Because it no longer comes about what you're going to offer, it comes about what it is they need. And once they discover that what they need, you got, they want it. They want to hear it. They want to meet with you, right? But it's got to take them through that process. So good job, everybody. I appreciate the great participation this week. I really appreciate that. It makes things go much smoother. Hope everybody picked up something, and we will catch you up next week. We do have call night tonight from 5 to 7. Adam will be rocking with that. And if I want to make sure people understand, you're certainly welcome here in the advanced session. But if you're fairly new, make sure you're getting in that foundations call, because they really work more on that individual wording of the scripting and the tonality pieces. That's where all that stuff has to be put in, and that's where you got to learn that, and then we got to take it to the next level here. So you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.